Howdy y'all, Banjo Ben here, and today we're going to talk about how to hold a guitar whenever we're playing it. It may seem like a simple subject, and it is for the most part, but for those who are just starting to play the guitar, there's some questions that you need to ask, and I think more importantly, some things that you might not think about that you need to think about in order to set yourself up for success in the future. Mainly getting rid of tension, not developing bad habits from the very beginning. So in this video lesson, I want to just talk about our posture. I want to talk about how to relax, how to approach the guitar, and then we're going to zoom in on our pick hand, look at some basic fundamentals there, the same for the fret hand too, and then just kind of put it all together, give you some good things to think about and to get you off on the right hand whenever you're learning how to play guitar. Let's get started. And if you're watching at banjobenclark.com as a Gold Pick member, you can click on the rest of these video segments for this course to learn more. If you're watching somewhere else, I'd love to have you on board. As a Gold Pick member, you get over 800 lessons for guitar, mandolin, and banjo, starting at the very beginning, like this one. Let's go. For the sake of this video, I'm going to assume that you're a righty, right-handed. Most of y'all out there are. Or maybe you're like my little girl and you're a lefty. Well, you can just transpose. That's a good musical term for you. Transpose. Whenever I mention the right hand, it would of course refer to your left hand. And as we think about just getting set up to play the guitar, we have to think about it being an athletic type of thing. What I mean by that is that we're going to be using techniques and approaches to physically engage with the guitar. So there are things that we can do, things that we cannot do that will help and hurt us as we approach this instrument. So let me just give you some big idea things here. There are two ways that you're primarily going to play your guitar. You're going to play your guitar sitting down, or you're going to play your guitar standing up. And there's variables in those two positions, but some of them we can erase to make that transition easier, because more than likely you're going to want to play your guitar standing up at some point. And what I'll often hear people say when I try to get them to stand up and play, they'll say, "Oh, I can't play standing up. I only play sitting down." Well, part of that is just your comfort level, but another big part of that is perhaps you're setting yourself up for failure with how you sit down and play the guitar, so that whenever you stand up, there's too much of a change. So I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about some tension and things that we can develop that's bad news for guitar playing. So with that being said, just have a seat with your guitar, and let's kind of run through the basic body parts and what we should be feeling, what we should not be feeling. First thing I'm going to mention is that it's great to find a guitar or a chair where you can sit up straight, have good posture just like your mama taught you. And then as far as where your feet are resting, you want to have a good foot foundation, and the height of that foundation is important. What I'd like for you to do is get the right height to where your thigh, where your guitar is sitting, is at a straight level. And the reason being, if your knee's too high, it's going to present an awkward angle for your guitar, and again, it's going to present something that's not natural for you whenever you end up standing up to play the guitar. You're going to be used to your guitar being kicked back. It's not going to look that way. You also don't want your feet too low so that your thigh here points down, your knee points down toward the ground, because then you're constantly going to be fighting your guitar falling over frontwards. We don't want that either. And again, that's not going to be what happens whenever you stand up with a strap to play the guitar. So I'm going to look for a foot height that has my thigh at a parallel line with the ground. And with this particular stool, this is one that I teach off of often, and I've gotten used to it, but it has the foot rest here that actually presents my knee at a little low angle to where I do fight my guitar a little bit. So usually whenever I go to record, I find something at just the right height, like this Pelican case here, that puts my foot at the level where my leg sits out straight and my guitar can just rest on my knee. Now, that may seem like common sense, but you'll be amazed how many people are just working against themselves from the very beginning by not having the guitar situated correctly. Now, fast forward, looking forward to whenever we are going to stand and play with the strap, I encourage people to set your guitar strap at about the same length that would allow your guitar to be in the same spot whenever you're standing up. Okay, you may not want it quite as high. It might drop down a little bit, but with all your angles that we're going to end up getting used to with how our left hand and our right hand fall onto the guitar, if you think about it, whenever you stand up with the strap, you want as much of that constant as possible. So you might even put your guitar strap on now, have a seat with your guitar, get in a good upright position as you're playing, and then you would have your strap kind of just snug on you. That way, whenever you stand up, it's going to be about the same feeling as whenever you sit down. That way you're not having to work on things twice. You know, you get used to playing something sitting down, then you stand up. Oh no, my guitar is 6 inches lower than whenever I was sitting down. You're just making more problems for yourself. So let's just think about that right off the bat. You'll notice that I do have my guitar on my right leg. I'm a righty. That's how I'm going to advise you to do versus putting the guitar bout in between your legs or letting it rest over on your other leg. There are great players out there that do this. I can think of a Winfield national flat picking champion that does play this way. But I'm going to advise you to have it over here. And depending on how large of a person you are, how long your arms are, and how big the guitar is that you're playing will kind of determine where it sits here. Because if you're a kiddo and you're playing, you've got a big, tall, full-size dreadnought, it may be tough for you to reach the strings as you come down over that lower bout. So it might be that you have to shift the guitar a little bit so that you can reach over, okay? But we don't want our guitar forward to where our arm comes in from behind the guitar. We want just a very natural place for our arm to rest there on the top. And if you are a person of smaller stature, you might consider starting with a little smaller body guitar so that you're not fighting that to begin with. Okay, let's move back up again and talk about something that's very important. Whenever you get in this position where your arm's over the guitar and you're getting ready to play, I want you to mentally go through your muscle groups, starting all the way up here at your head, all the way down to the guitar. So as you're beginning to play, is your face and your head and your neck relaxed? You may say, well, of course it is. What do you think I'm doing? Well, we can develop these habits whenever we're trying to concentrate and do something where we begin to clench muscles and we begin to flex them and we don't even know that we're doing it. And whenever we create tension, even up here in our neck, it's going to begin to flow down through our shoulder and our arm and even affecting the way that we play, or vice versa. If we have tension down here, it could work our way up here. We could even end up having aches and pains in various joints that's not needed because we shouldn't be flexing those muscles. So whenever I'm playing, this is all relaxed, and sometimes I just have to think about it again because I can get worked up if I'm playing something that's difficult. Am I relaxed? And then I go to my shoulder. Is my shoulder relaxed? Am I having to flex it for some reason? You shouldn't have to. Your hands should just be resting. Your arms should be resting over the top of the guitar. What about your bicep, your tricep? Are you flexing those? Hope not. You shouldn't have to do that. And then we're loose all the way down so that really the only work that's going to take place is going to be a little bit in your elbow, but mainly in this forearm and in your wrist and in your actual fingers. And even then, we don't apply more muscle power and stress than we need to get the job done. We'll talk more about that as we zoom in on the right hand. When we go to the left hand, the same thing. We don't want a shoulder cocked up. We don't want to be flexing our traps and trying to get in some position. We just want to look at what's natural, you know, and everybody's going to be a little bit different because we're built a little differently. So we have little different angles, but the main thing we want to do is what comes natural to our particular body shape and our design. There's some things that we're going to have to do on the guitar that are hard to do, and you're going to have to stretch and you're going to have to push. But by and large, we don't want to fight against our own anatomy. So whenever we go to grab the guitar, we just grab the guitar. And we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. But we're not going to do some kind of weird angle on the guitar that's beyond what we're naturally just going to grab the guitar. Okay? So again, I'm just going to have a seat. I'm going to make sure my guitar's sitting on my right leg for us righties, opposite for you lefties. I'm going to make sure that I've got good posture. I'm sitting up, that I'm not drooped over the front of my guitar. I'm going to make sure that my feet are at the right height, to where my knee is at the right height, to where my guitar can sit without tipping over. I'm going to make sure that my guitar neck is straight. We don't want it kicked up like this. We don't want it kicked down like this, unless you're trying to be like Johnny Cash. But otherwise, you just want that straight guitar neck. And then we're going to just ask ourselves some questions. Am I tensed up anywhere? Do I need to relax? Because the more relaxed that we can be as we approach the guitar, the better. Okay, in the next video segment, I want us to talk about this right arm in particular, or left arm if you're a lefty, and talk about how we hold the pick, and then we'll move on to the left arm as well. And if you want to learn more about this type of stuff in much detail, come over and be a Gold Pit member at banjobenclark.com. If you're already here watching as a Gold Pit member, thank you for your membership. Let's keep learning. Let's talk about our pick hand. We've already discussed everything leading down to this pick hand, and let's start first with just how we hold the pick. I do want to advise you to skip down in the learning track.